Welcome to the program. This afternoon, the battle to save Ghana's polluted rivers has entered a critical phase as the Environmental Protection Agency has rolled out the first phase of its scientific water cleaning intervention aimed at reversing the damage caused by illegal mining. Described as the country's most significant restoration effort yet, the initiative targets heavily contaminated water bodies and is expected to set the tone for a broader national recovery plan. Well, the exercise is being launched in the eastern region at the Birim River site, where my colleague Carlos Coloni is joining us live with details on how this operation is unfolding. Carlos, tell us, how safe is the water in Birim as we speak right now?
Right, Kenneth, I can tell you that the Birim water, the entire stretch of it is heavily polluted. I mean, if you look at the places we've traveled from and to, the entire stretch is heavily polluted. But the portion where this ionic nano technology has been applied, after 1 hour, we began to see some improvements in the color of the water. The heavy sediments appeared to be settling, and the surface of the water, you could touch it. And even some of the officials from EPA, the Ghana Standards Authority, Water Research Institute, all of them took samples, and some even drank it. Now, the chemical being applied, concerns were raised about its efficacy when it comes to aquatic life, whether it poses any danger to aquatic life. And that has been explained that it poses no danger at all to aquatic life. And so it's safe for consumption. However, the EPA chief executive said that for now, they would have to test it, which will take some time to ascertain the actual levels. And that is why the Water Research Institute of CSIR is on the ground, also taking samples, as well as Ghana Standards Authority and Water Resources Commission. All of them are on the ground. In fact, the Ghana Water Limited itself, officials from that entity are also on the ground taking samples. And so they are all going to conduct their various tests in their various laboratories to ascertain the levels of, pollution and heavy metals in the water has been cleaned now, and then a report will be issued. Then from there, a statement will be made on the way forward.
Right.
Now, this one is actually a pilot phase, which is being carried out on the Birim River in Kebbi. So the EPA chief executive itself has been explaining the processes, and we can take a listen to it.
Works, and then second will be build a network of stakeholders to ensure that there is not only...
We did the application, 30 minutes later, we fetched the water from the top, and then we see this. This other one, you would think this is my drinking water. This is after 1 hour, 1 hour of applying the chemical. So we see the difference already. Very soon I've called for the original water that we treated to get to this level and this level of clearness, and then we can also show as well. So we see that the technology works. It's just a matter of, in a short time, we see clear difference between what we came to meet and where we have treated the water to.
Concerns have been raised about sustainability and cost. How sustainable is this?
Yeah, so as I mentioned earlier on, it took us about $200,000 to procure an amount that will clean 1 kilometer of every flowing river body. Birim River is about 175 kilometers. So we can do the mathematics. We are talking about $35 million. River Pra is 275 kilometers times $200,000. And Cobra is also about 240, 260 kilometers. You can also do the mathematics and see how much it will cost us to clean these major river bodies. Once we get the money, which of course we call for support from all bodies, private, individuals, government, to partner with we expect that the source is water onto the environment, both the water and the land.
Ayefi pa into Birim River ni ya sebi ya de kwa lab akoye ehun nhwehwem ahwese den na wom into Birim River na de enu ni na application na eduro na ye de begum no ya diversion kakra ye de gumu wi a ebesen flow ebegu Birim River no mu biom na aye cleaning na ye hwehwe no.
I still have Carlos Coloni with me on the line. Carlos, do authorities believe this pilot can significantly restore the Birim and other affected rivers, or is this more of a long-term rehabilitation process, you'd say?
Well, Ken, based on what the Chief Executive Officer of the Environmental Protection Authority has been saying, it all boils down to the funding, because like he explained, a kilometer of 8 India, we made around $100. Okay, so if the fund is made available, that's done. This is the price of thing, and one can with the project, and they are something a lot of things, whether it's about the past life, whether it's dynamo and all that.
Right.
Before we even got the site, they contain the polluted water in certain part of the site, and they have there 24 hours ago, and water becomes clean, and then that maybe so that is the efficacy we are seeing from a layman's point of view. The scientists believe that if all the readings are done, then they can surely tell us it is sustainable. But then it boils down to funding. If the funding is there, then I believe that this can go a long way. And there's been some concerns also raised about the need to, end galamsey or ensure that the pollution levels go down. So the EPA's director of mining has also been speaking that going forward, apart from the illegal miners who pollute our water bodies, alluvial mining also, those who are even legalized to do it, most of them also channel their wastewater into our river bodies in a way. So going forward, they're going to ensure that such licensed miners rely on the ionic nano copper, to clean their water in such a way that it becomes a recycled process, so that their wastewater would not get into our river body. So by so doing, they believe that largely the pollution levels would go down, coupled with the district assemblies themselves. In fact, we've been speaking to the MC for this area, and he also welcomed the exercise being carried out by the EPA and promised to put in efforts to ensure that pollution levels reduce, to make sure that the water that flows in the Birim River is cleaner to the community, and the water that eventually gets to the Ghana Water Company treatment plant is cleaner, so the machines there can have a longer lifespan. Correct.
Carlos Coloni, thank you very much. He's a man on the ground in JB in the Eastern region, where this pilot program is currently underway there. And back into the studio, Caleb Ziblim is a member of our research team here at Joy News and is joining me with details of this new project that has been piloted. And before I engage Caleb Ziblim, let's go into the telephone lines and speak to Ken Ashigbe, who is the convener of the Media Coalition Against Galamsey. Mr. Ashigbe, grateful for your time this afternoon. What do you make, first of all, of this new scientific technology that has been introduced to cleanse our polluted water bodies?
Well, thank you very much. And thank you to your viewers. For me, it's gratifying to find solutions to this challenge that is confronting us. And science is always the way to go. And I think we need to commend the EPA boss, Prof. for her tenacity in seeing this challenge being dealt with. You know, unfortunately, what you are showing on your screen with somebody drinking the water, it is important to make it clear to all of us that the fact that it is clear does not mean it is clean. We've heard the EPA boss talk about the fact that they would have to go and do tests because in November and December, the coalition, we did some work on some of these water bodies. So beyond the turbidity that is being cleared by this new technology, we also tested for heavy metals in the water bodies. And the level of mercury, the level of cadmium, the level of lead that we saw in the water bodies were way above what the standards are. So it will be good. You know, this is an experiment that is being taken. We've seen the way the turbidity is clearing up within 30 minutes and within an hour. You know, so that's good. It will be good to also find out what then happens to the heavy metals that would be within the water bodies. And then you also would want to find out what the impact. I'm pretty sure that before this chemical should have been brought into this country, the impact on, you know, aquatic life and flora and fauna might have been tested. But it would be good within our contest to find out, because again, you know, these are ions, you know, copper-based substances. What's the reaction between it and any other, you know, metal that will be in the water? All of this we need to find out. So I think it's a process that has begun. But for me, the big thing again, and that I had a prof talk about the fact that they channel water somewhere, you know, and clean it up, and then it comes back to join the system. Because my question I was asking was that how are you going to treat, you know, a river that is flowing, but it looks as if there might have to be some process of camping the water, you know, ponding the water at a particular point, cleaning it, and then sending it back. But my question I would ask is that if we don't stop the pollution, you know, if we keep on, you know, continuing the pollution, then you're cleaning and then they are polluting it. You know, so how do we make sure that that system is put in place to make sure that, you know, there's no constant pollution of the water body? So those are questions that, you know, one would want to ask. But
right, and not to cut you, but that was actually my next question that I was going to ask you, that how do we ensure that once these waters are cleaned, it is not repolluted again by illegal mining activities? Any suggestions you have?
Well, again, you see, the thing about it is that we've seen it before. There are situations where people have gone to do reclamation of some forest areas, and then we've had illegal miners go back, you know, to be able to go deal with it, to go and destroy it again. So for me, one of the solutions would be one of the things that NIMAS himself had proposed. It would mean that, for example, in this particular area, you would need to be able to permanently station the NIMAS troops within this particular place so that they deal with it. But how, you know, this place that we're talking about, it's not really hidden, you know, it's not as if it's in some hidden place and all of that. So how is it that we had MCs who is the representative of the president, and this thing was allowed to go? How is it that we have police people who are in these communities and these things were happening? How is it that we had the NIB in these areas? So the people, the duty bearers would have to do their work. So if we really want to make sure that we're dealing with this, then we should be holding the MCE, the DCE for this particular area, the chiefs. You know, the Birim is quite close to Dochihine. Dochihine and his team would also have to come on board, supported by central government, supported by the district government, to ensure that these wrongs, you know, that we're doing to ourselves stop. Because we need to stop the damage so that once the cleaning is done, it will give the nature some time to regenerate itself. So holding people accountable as we're doing the cleaning is going to be an important thing. Look at the amount of money that we're talking about that we need to be able to carry out this particular exercise. The gold that was taken out of this area, how much of that has gone to the development of the people in the communities? You know, so to be able to deal with it, we need to ask His Excellency the President. A lot of the things that he said, you know, we need to do them, especially dealing with the politically exposed persons who are involved in it, and also holding the MCEs accountable, for the actions that they are taking. And again, that for me, if we don't do that, then we would just be wasting our time and our effort and our money.
Would you then say that enforcement has been the weakest link when it comes to our fight against illegal mining?
Well, yes, that's the bane, and it's the reason why some of us, would not drop off the call for, states of emergencies, for example. Right. Because you see, you look at this area that we're talking about, look at the level of degradation that has been done in these places. This is not a place that had been destroyed in just a few minutes or, a few days. It is taking a long time to do. But why is it that these things continue? I completely agree that we need to have the carrot and stick approach. Find a place and that's where responsible cooperative mining has its place. So for us at the chamber, for example, we're trying to come up with a framework that supports government to be able to do this. But as you do this, you then also have to deal with the issues of enforcement. Right. And it's not only just the issues of enforcement. What has happened to all the people, who, have been arrested? What has happened to the prosecution? Prof herself almost lost her life. The attack that happened. What has happened to those people who, perpetrated those things? So we need to deal with the issues of enforcement. We need to deal with the politically exposed person, the very influential people who are behind this, as we also provide a place for those who want to get involved in mining to mine in a sustainable manner.
Some will also argue that we should tackle the root cause, which is illegal mining, rather than tackling a secondary cause which has been brought about as a result of these illegal mining. So don't you think we should tackle the illegal mining rather than cleaning our water, which is caused by activities of illegal miners?
Well, I agree that we need to, you need to do a root cause analysis and make sure that you're dealing with the cause of this, But as you do that, again, it is not, you wouldn't say that they are mutually exclusive, because again, as we say, this is a process that is taking place. So now we have demonstrated that we can actually deal with the turbidity. I know you have a scientist, I'm sure you come talking about the science. We need to determine how we deal with also the level of heavy metals that are actually in the waters and all of that. But, if you don't deal with the root cause and you deal with only the symptoms of cleaning up the water, then it will be akin to taking a basket to this riverside and, hoping that you're going to get some water. So we need to definitely deal with the root cause of this, which is the illegal mining. We need to deal with that as we also clean up the water, processes, and then we restore our lands, restore our forests, and make sure that at least once you've cleaned it, people can now go back to drinking in these waters, and then also be able to go back to their fishing, be able to go to their farming and all of that.
Listening to the EPA boss, Nanama Kluche, she did mention that this will require a lot of resources, millions of US dollars, if we are to, successfully clean the water with this new scientific project they are piloting. Is it worth it, you'd say?
Well, water is life. Water is life. So definitely it is worth it. But the point that you should be asking is that the polluter pay principle should be applying. Who should be paying for this damage that has been done? You will find out that for the large-scale mines, you won't dare pollute water. The EPA would be on your case. So why is it that, now we have people who are polluting this water? They are not paying anything to government in form of taxes, and then they will be leaving this burden to us. It is the reason why we need to go back to Act 995 and make sure that everybody who has been arrested in this process, the fines are so punitive. They spend a lot of time in jail, and then, whatever equipment that were involved in it, we'll try and sell off all of those equipment in the process so that we can get some money to be able to do this cleanup. It is the reason why the Minister of Interior should stop deporting, foreigners who are caught up in this galamsey. Let's make sure we can extract maximum out of the fines that they pay. Make sure that we can confiscate all the assets that they use in the galamsey, and make sure we're using that to be able to clean up these waters that we're talking about. And for me, another thing we need to do, move another step further. Any chief or any family land that has been used, you have allowed to be used in galamsey, you have not protested, it should be confiscated. When you do the reclamation, maybe we sell them off, and then whatever we'll be able to realize then goes into the process of, cleaning up this water. Not only that, amount of money that NIMOS themselves need to be able to police this. We've not been able to provide it. 150 million that is in the budget. I'm not too sure how much has been released to them. And then the other things that we need to do to clean this up.
Right.
So we need money to be able to get this done. But the most important thing is that we need to stop, the bleeding that, is being occasioned by the illegality that we are facing as a people.
Right. You've actually answered my next question that I was about to ask you. I was about to ask you that with the EPA boss asking for funds from NGOs and benevolent Ghanaians, don't you think that the confiscated equipment from illegal miners should be sold and used to fund this project? But it appears you are on the same page.
I think you're spot on. That's definitely what has to happen. That's why, for me, I would ask, Kenneth, that we should go back and check with the Chief Justice. We are supposed to have set up some specialized courts. How many of these cases have they dealt with? Because you see, by the legal processes, when you confiscate, you need to go to court, get the prosecution successful, then forfeiture can be done. And then once forfeiture is done, then we can dispose of these assets and then be able to use the money to be able to clean up. Look at the state of what we're seeing. This is the Birim. The Birim that, you're supposed to put, a calabash in and drink as an achieved person. And this is the sorry sight that we have. So we need to find the money from the illegal activities, extract the maximum, sanctions out of them. We should be asking people like the Tano North MC, who is giving prospecting licenses and signing prospecting licenses to people. That illegality, where are all those monies that have been collected? The work that you did, the Joy News expose that you did. All those monies that have been collected, where are that? Let's find that out and be able to use that to be able to solve this problem.
Ken Ashigbe, always glad to have you on any of our shows. Thank you. He's the convener of the Media Coalition Against Galamsey. Let's come back into the studio right now and speak to Caleb Ziblib. He's with the Joy News Research Desk. Caleb, tell us a bit more about this new technology that is being piloted in the Eastern region.
Yes, Ken. So it's a nanotechnology that uses copper, and very basically, they pour it into the water body, and then it acts as a sort of magnet to attract the heavy metals in the water body. So it pulls down. So this is what it's called the ionic nano copper technology. Yeah. And so they introduce this into the water body, and then it's supposed to attract some of the heavy metals in the water body. In the next slide, you can see that the types of heavy metal that this technology attracts includes lead and mercury. And we know that with illegal mining and the Galamsey activities, these are metals that the miners use in their activities. Also, when we had a study from Pure Earth in conjunction with the EPA, they identified that some of the food items and fishes contains a heavy amount of lead, lead and mercury. Right. So this technology has the ability to attract these heavy metals in the water body and then settles to the bottom. So moving forward, we need to understand from the authorities and from experts in the area whether once the water now flows back into the river, whether it flows and then mixes with the polluted parts, whether the copper is still in the water that can now attract all the sediments that's flowing through it and keep the water clear. So we don't understand whether once the water is flowing and the more pollutants are introduced into the water, it remains clear because the nano is still in the system and keeps attracting it, or the nano is basically useless and the water is polluted once again. So we need to understand from the experts and from the authorities whether once they clear the water body, if any additional pollutants enter the water body, the copper in the system can still attract these pollutants, or then it's just pollute the water once.
Caleb Ziblib, thank you very much. So understanding more is what we're going to do right now, and go on to Zoom and speak to Professor Paul Poku Sampini Osei. He's a forensic pathologist. Grateful for your time this afternoon. Do you think that this new pilot program that is started in the Eastern region will work? Hello, Professor Sampini, if you could unmute for me. Do I have Professor Sampini on the line? If you can kindly unmute for me. Right, he's a forensic pathologist, Professor Paul Poku Sampene Osei. We want to find out from his expertise how this will work. Professor, I can see you right now, and I'll be grateful if you can unmute for me so that we can have a fruitful conversation, hopefully.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you much better.
Yeah, that's fine.
Right.
Well, let me quickly, break this thing into simple terms so that the ordinary Ghanaian will understand whatever it is that we are doing, copper nanotechnology or whatever. What is a nano? First and foremost, we should look at nano, we should look at copper, the effect of copper, the importance of copper in the human system or in the environment. So all those things must be explained. And when we talk of nano, we are looking at 1 millionth of a metric. 1 billionth of a metric. So it is something that is used, means that you are looking at if a particle is very minute, the minutest particle, this thing can attract it. That is exactly what it is. Copper nanotechnology. So it means that copper is being used to attract, or as it were, to filter what we call particles that are in the size of 1 billionth of a particle. Do you understand what it means? So, and if you look at copper is a very, we call it essential element or essential metal, which humans actually need it. But how much do we need those copper? How much do we need those metals? We need it in very, very small quantity, and we don't need to exceed certain limit. Certain limit will go to bring a lot of problems to the human body and even to the environment in which it finds itself. So basically, this is what is happening. But, you know, like the minister has made it clear, they are now looking at it to see whether it will work. Because one, essentially, copper nanotechnology is used to actually purify and eliminating what we call bacteria, viruses, and then fungi in water bodies. I hope you understand what it is.
I do.
It's basically used for elimination of what we call filtration of or purification of bacteria, viruses, and fungi. And these what we call it, these particles are in a nanometer. That is very, very small in size. And so that is where it is, you have to actually, take note of. So it's being actually used now in some areas for environmental mediation or remediation, where people are believing the fact that when it is used, it can also attract heavy metals, where illegal mining has polluted the water bodies. So that is the basic thing that is being experimented on. It's not something that can actually be said, oh, that is so good that when it is used, we can attract, like how your scientist, the other guy in the studio was trying to explain that it can attract mercury, cadmium, nickel, and so on and so forth into the water body settlement and all those things. That is not exactly what it's meant for. It is basically meant for but of course, now people are looking into the fact that it can also, if it is used for these nanoparticles, then it can also be used for these heavy metals. But then let us see. Do you remember some time ago we were using copper as pipe to direct waters into our various homes? Do you remember?
Yes,
in Ghana?
I do.
And then came a point that they realized that these coppers were giving so much health problems into the human body, and then they have to actually stop usage or the usage of copper pipes, and then they move to these rubber pipes or plastic pipes. It's for a reason, because these things, when consumed for a long period, can also bioaccumulate in the human body, especially in fishes, and that can cause what we call oxidative stress. And let me just quickly explain what oxidative stress is. Oxidative stress simply means that free radicals are going to be more than antioxidants in the body. And when these things happen, what they do is that they destroy or they can damage the DNA of the human body. That's what it means.
Right. Prof, we understand that it's not just copper, it's ionic nano copper. But this one, if it is successful, will the water be safe for drinking?
Well, I can assume once I was listening to him, he said that yes, of course, you see the water clean, but what about the heavy metals itself, which is the main issue that we are talking about. Please, you said ionic copper. Ionic copper, yes, it is ionic, but is it not copper? I'm saying that the copper that we get, the things that we get in our body, even the mercury that we get in our body, they are all ionic.
Okay.
Do you understand? They are all ionic. Once they go into reaction, they become ionic. Please, that is the meaning of that, okay? When they go into a reaction with something, chemical, then become ionic. So it's not ionic, it's just a terminology, it's just a name being given. Is that clear?
It is.
Yeah. And so basically we'll be, looking at either filtration of bacteria, filtration of viruses, and filtration of fungi. But as to how to filter and get a very clean water that we usually drink from the various ones that we know of, in the previous years back, then that is what my problem is.
Right.
Are you going to get the water having sedimentations of heavy metals at the bottom of the water bodies, and then the flowing on top of it, we have clean water?
Right. So if I understand you clearly, that means that the heavy metals that are concentrated in these polluted water bodies cannot be treated with this new technology, correct?
No, I don't think it can be treated with this technology. I don't think so.
And does that mean that this is much ado about nothing then?
Well, you see, it's an experimental, level, or let's say research level. Let's see how it works. But finally, what I believe in is the fact that typically that is what it's meant for. It's meant for purification of bacteria, fungi, and then viruses from water bodies. But then if for some reason we want to try the use of it to, as it were, purify water bodies that have been contaminated with heavy metals, then I don't know how we are going about it. But then my worry is purely on the health issues as far as human is concerned, because when bioaccumulated can cause a whole lot of things in the GIT,
right,
the neuro, the CNS of the human body, and then so many other things that can cause. In fact, the kidney, the liver, and all those things can be affected, especially when it is not well managed in the water bodies and how we are going to use them.
How then do we get rid of the heavy metals in the water bodies?
Well, I think there are a lot of methods that can be used, but in the interim, if they want to use this one, fine. But there are a lot of methods which, of course, I believe that the minister is aware of, and I believe that he can actually, speak to that. And the other scientists who are also working into those things. So I believe that there are a lot of remediation methods that can be used actually. So, or that is usually used. And so therefore, I believe he should be able to tell us. But I don't believe in this ionic copper nanotechnology. I don't think that's the best way to go.
And with millions of US dollars expected to be spent on this technology, does that mean that we shouldn't worry ourselves at all? It's not worth it, you'd say?
Well, I don't want to go into that, the economic aspect of it, the financial aspect, because I'm dealing with the scientific aspect of what is happening. Let the economics and then the financial guys actually work on that. In actual fact, I don't want to go into that. I want to deal specifically with what is happening, what's going to happen when consumed over a long period of time.
And what are the side effects in consuming water bodies that have been treated with ionic nano copper technology?
That's what I've already said earlier. I told you that when consumed over a long period of time can also be bioaccumulated in fishes and other, what do we call food items when used, and those things can bioaccumulate into our organs like the liver, the kidney, the GIT, and all those things. And so basically and it can also cause what we call oxidative stress. And this oxidative stress, what it means is that it's going to produce a lot of free radicals, okay? And so when more free radicals are produced to the extent that the antioxidant in the system cannot balance it, what it means is that it's going to cause DNA damage. And when DNA damage is caused, you understand what is going to happen. A lot of things. It's just like the same thing as the use of, or maybe the spillage of heavy metals into the water bodies and the causes of it in human bodies, causing all manner of birth defects, stillbirth, and all those things. But of course, iron is also needed. copper is an essential element or essential metal that I've already stated that is used, it is needed by the body, but not in a quantity where it will eventually cause problems to the body.
Right, Professor Paul Poku Sampini Osai, thank you very much. He's a forensic pathologist there, giving us, his expert analysis on the recently launched ionic nano copper technology by the EPA to treat water bodies. They began this piloting program from the Birim River in the Eastern region. You're still watching The Pulse here on Joy News. We return from this break with more. See you soon.